2, 3. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Cummings. Welcome to our Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am serving as your worship associate this morning, and I'm joined by our worship leader, Reverend Chris Rothbauer, whose pronouns are they, them, their. We are excited to welcome you to our worship service this morning. We are so glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or virtually, whether you are here for the first time, or whether you've been here for longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome among us. Please be our guest after the service for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall. As a community, we also welcome the sharing of joys, sorrows, and concerns. You are welcome to fill out a joys and sorrows slip on the table near the Welcome Center, in the pockets of chairs, and on the joys and sorrows table in the front of the sanctuary. You are also welcome to light a candle. This can be done at any time before the service or in the service, from the beginning through the offertory. I would like to invite Alan Sprode up for an announcement.
For a change, I'm not here to ask something from you. I am here to thank you. Thank you for your generosity. We raised over $7,000 at the auction on Saturday. Last Saturday. Thank you. Thank you for your flexibility and patience when we had no water. Thank you for your thanks. Many people have come up to me and thanked me for my efforts, and please make sure you thank the rest of the committee and all the other people who you saw helping out, and if you helped set up or clean up, thank yourself. There are some physical items that are on the table in the opening area and in the fellowship hall. There's little cards on there that say the item and the person who won it, so you can make sure it's you. And you should have gotten an email about how much to pay and how to pay it, and the people who offered things should have gotten an email about who won and how to contact them. Thank you all very much again.
Our call to worship this morning is from Sherry Woodbury. Again, we reground ourselves here in our highest values.
Love is the center and foundation of this faith.
Love is the power that holds us together as a community.
As we enter into worship, then, let us open our hearts to the healing power of liberating love.
Because love is not only something we receive, but something we practice in community.
Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love.
Let us be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
As we continue to listen and learn, to act and grow,
may each unfold in wholeness,
both deeply loving and truly loved. Our chalice lighting this morning is from Francis Kozier. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community. Please join me in our affirmation, which is printed on the back of your order of service and projected on the screen. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth, thus do we covenant together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, hymn number 361 in the gray hymnal, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Open your hearts, everyone. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Don't be afraid of some change. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Horizon partners with MetroQuest services to help people in need in our area. Each Sunday, you're encouraged to bring items for their pantry, including shelf-stable food items, toiletries, and diapers and wipes for babies. A list can be found in the Horizon newsletter. If you brought items today, please pass them to the aisles to a young person to bring up to the front and place in this basket here. And at this time, I'd like to invite any young people that want to come up or young at heart, and sit in the front row and listen to a story. Thank you. So today I have a book for us today, and it's called All the Way to the Top. All the Way to the Top. It is how one girl's fight for Americans with disabilities changed everything. It's by Annette Bay Pimentel, and it's illustrated, which means that's the person who drew the pictures, by Nabi Ali. And there's some pictures going to be presented up here. So this is a story about Jennifer Keelan. Jennifer Keelan may be small, but her voice is mighty. Jennifer loves to go fast, but she knows that soon she'll have less time for riding because she's finally old enough for school. She can't wait to make new friends. She's ready to go. The school is not far. Jennifer rolls outside down the sidewalk to the corner, but stops. A 4-inch curb is a cliff to someone who uses a wheelchair. She makes it to the building, but stop. The school says Jennifer doesn't belong there because she uses a wheelchair. Instead, Jennifer and her mom find a different school that says she can attend kindergarten, but only for part of the afternoon when lunch is over, since she can't get into the cafeteria. As Jennifer rolls in each day, everyone is already busy. Her classmates are confused and even a little afraid. "You'll never be one of us," some of them say. Jennifer knows they're wrong, but how do you change someone's mind? She is not sure, but she's not about to give up. Jennifer and her family hear about activists who are working to make sure people with disabilities have access to public spaces like schools. They want to know more, so they attend a strategy meeting. The activists are shouting and laughing and planning a big protest to get wheelchair lifts on buses. They turn to Jennifer. "Do you want to come?" Yes, she wants to go. Downtown, Jennifer rolls to the microphone and tells her story. She leads marchers through the street. It feels good to speak up for what she believes in. She can't wait to do it again. She's raring to go. She protests in Phoenix, rolls through the streets of San Francisco, waved signs in Montreal. The demonstrations don't always change people's minds, but Jennifer is used to that, even when her neighborhood school finally agrees she can attend. She and her classmates with disabilities aren't allowed to eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. That hurts, but she keeps going. Working with other activists revs her up, yet she can't help noticing that she and her sister are usually the only kids there raising their voices. She still can't leave all the protesting to the grown-ups. She knows firsthand that children with disabilities get ignored, so she keeps speaking up. When Jennifer is 8, activists propose a new law called the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA. The law insists that schools, governments, and businesses make room for all people, including those with disabilities. If it passes, it means sidewalks with curb cuts, buildings with ramps in addition to steps, and elevators with braille panels. It means Jennifer and her classmates with disabilities can finally go to the cafeteria with everyone else and have lunch. Jennifer and her family watch the news for updates on the ADA, but the reporters never mention it. She switches off the TV in frustration, wishing she could change the reporters' minds. The Keelings get their updates about the ADA when an activist friend calls. It's bad news. Members of Congress say that the law will be too complicated, too expensive. They say it's just not worth it. Since the news station is ignoring people with disabilities, Jennifer and her friends are determined to find another way to make Congress hear their voices. It's go time. Her family buys plane tickets to Washington, D.C. As they march down Pennsylvania Avenue, Jennifer has never shouted louder. "What do we want? The ADA. When do we want it? Now." Finally, they reach the U.S. Capitol, but stop. A mountain of steps blocked Jennifer and other people from using wheelchairs. Grown-ups slide out of their wheelchairs and start pulling themselves up the steps. They will make sure that members of Congress know we're here. Jennifer's heart races. This is what she's been shouting about. "I want to climb the steps," she says. But stop. The grown-ups think she's too young. Jennifer knows this is just not about her. It's about her friends at school who were shut out of the cafeteria at lunch. It's about millions of other kids that she's never even met. Jennifer wants to speak up for all the kids with disabilities. "I need to climb the steps." She slides out of her wheelchair, scoots along the sidewalk to the bottom of the stairway, and puts her hands on the first step. She hauls herself up. She drags herself up another step. The crowd roars. Reporters surround her with cameras and microphones, recording her gusty climb, and she keeps climbing, heaving, hauling, dragging herself up those steps. She keeps going all the way to the top. Pictures of Jennifer climbing the steps flash around the world. Reporters start talking about the ADA. Members of Congress see the news, listen to activists, and finally pass the ADA. Laws like the ADA don't change things overnight. Entrances have to be rebuilt, sidewalks redesigned, buses re-engineered, and slowest of all, minds to change. So Jennifer will continue shouting and waving, signs, organizing and explaining. She will continue fighting for what she knows is right. Jennifer has places to go, and nothing will stop her now. And this is actually a true story. All right, thank you, kids, for listening. And we will now sing you out.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice. as you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Moore. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am co-chair of the membership committee with Gay Cox, and we have some new and returning members to welcome today. And we have a welcome reception after the service, and you're welcome to join us. We've got cake and cookies. So. Oops, I need to stand here. Tora Strider. Mary Ann Strider. Rebecca Wattis. Chase Sturdivant. And returning member Andrea Gommenson. We at Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church welcome you as new and returning members of our community this morning. You have come to worship, play, work, and grow among us. Ours is a free church community. We have no creeds, and you are free to bring your ideas and beliefs with you to share with others. I invite you to join with us in the religious search for meaning and purpose in life, informed by our individual beliefs and the traditions of Unitarian Universalism.
You have already signed our membership book. This morning, I invite you to celebrate that commitment in worship. In this gathering, we lift up our voices in shared song. We bring ourselves before the holy in silence and in speech. We search together for meaning and truth in life. And we share the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another. Joining Horizon means being a part of this gathered community, speaking out on the future of the congregation, offering and receiving the gifts of the Spirit, committing your time, talent, and treasure in support of the mission of this church, and supporting others and being supported in return. If you will join us in this mission and work, would you please say, I will?
I will.
Will the members of the congregation please rise in body or in spirit and respond with the words projected behind me? We receive you with open hands and hearts. As you join us, we once again renew our commitment to the religious community. We are proud and happy to have you among us. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you all who have made the commitment, and we hope that you all will stay and welcome them in the reception after the service today.
We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. Thank you to our members and friends who give and pledge electronically. If you would like to give electronically, you may do so on the Breeze app or online at horizonuu.org/donate. The offering will now be joyfully given and received. Thank you for your generosity.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
A reading from the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association Ableism Task Force. Our bodies inherently have value. Our bodies are where we live, and they're the container for all of our experiences, including our religious and or spiritual experiences. If we tolerate or perpetuate the devaluing of other people's bodies, we're also willing to devalue their spiritual experiences. Ableism is the centering of able bodies and experiences over disabled bodies and experiences, while simultaneously devaluing and erasing those disabled bodies. If, in the words of Ellie Claire, ableism is the grease that makes the machine of all other oppressions move forward, then the devaluing of disabled bodies is connected to all of the other bodies that don't have to matter. If we believe that all people have inherent worth and dignity, then we believe all bodies have inherent worth and dignity. If we believe that all bodies have inherent worth and dignity, we also believe that every person also has agency over their body, that people are more than the work that they do, that caring for one another is a moral responsibility, even bodies that do not conform to a capitalistic standard of working for pay. All bodies are worthy of our care and concern because they are human people with human bodies. If we believe that one of the sources of our living tradition is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life, then we must notice that to which we are moved. If disabled bodies are part of life, then they are good. Part of the urging of transcendence, then, is to resist all forms of devaluing of disabled bodies, including unexamined rhetoric that devalues disabled bodies and places high value on normatively able bodies by using disabled bodies as a point of reference for negative metaphor. We already know that words shape our reality. We know that it's a metaphor, and there's more. It's also not a metaphor. We frame much of our engagement around things that do not include everyone. We don't just put our stories onto other people's bodies, we also put our metaphors onto them, one-directional, in which the able-bodied metaphor is superior. It's not true. Every body is the location of holiness, not just able bodies. When we sing songs that say that able-bodied way is the only way, we're missing an entire possibility. More is possible. Instead of focusing on the loss of a metaphor, we can consider what else is possible. As Unitarian Universalists, we assert that revelation is not sealed. There is a specific, ongoing revelation that is the disabled body as a text and post-textually as an experience. The disabled body, then, is a prophetic body. It calls a beloved community to account for a past in which the good news has only been for those with the right abilities, the acceptable bodies. And still, the disabled body cannot be hidden nor silenced, though it may not audibly speak. The disabled body bridges time to a future in which belonging and contribution are a natural function of inclusion as a core value and spiritual practice of beloved community. The prophecy of the disabled body is the indictment of this process. To what does it call us?
I want to start with a proposal this morning. The topic of disability has been very misunderstood in our culture, and that might seem obvious to some of us. And if you go on YouTube and search, there are no shortage of videos you can find where people accuse disabled people of faking their disabilities. you don't look disabled. Can you imagine if you said that about anything else? You don't look black. You don't look gay. You don't look transgender. You don't look like a woman. And yet it keeps happening over and over and over again. Because for many, being disabled means a visual, auditory, or movement disability, often associated with wheelchairs and guide dogs and hearing aids. And to be fair, those are disabilities, but they aren't the only disabilities. In fact, activists estimate that between 70% to 96% of all disabilities are what are referred to as invisible disabilities, physical, mental, or neurological conditions that are not immediately apparent to others. These are the people that look healthy to the untrained eye, but affect the lives of the estimated 61 million adults in the United States who live with them on a daily basis. People with invisible disabilities aren't just other people, though. Every one of us will likely have one eventually if we're lucky enough to survive long enough. There's a reason many in the social justice world have taken to referring to those with able-bodied privilege as the temporarily able-bodied. It's one of the realities of aging that every single one of us will eventually be disabled in some way if we live long enough. In fact, the only alternative to this is to die before we become disabled. The human body's natural aging means that it will eventually break down in ways that leave each of us with different abilities than before, different than those 36-year-old healthy white males who are used as the base for what is healthy. Today, in honor of Invisible Disabilities Week, which is this week, I want to talk about a specific category of invisible disabilities: chronic illnesses, long-term health conditions that require ongoing medical care and can limit daily activities. These conditions range from sleeping and breathing disorders to allergy and asthma, to chronic pain, to cancer and heart disease and hypertension. Conditions that can often be managed through modern medical interventions, but few of them can be completely cured. In fact, the definition of a chronic illness is a medical condition that requires medical intervention for at least 1 year. This is a topic dear to my heart because I am one of those millions of people in the United States who live with chronic illness. In fact, I have several. The one that really made me think of myself as having an invisible disability was one I was originally diagnosed with just after getting here in August of 2023: obstructive sleep apnea. I knew I'd been sleeping very poorly for years, but I always just chalked it up to poor sleep hygiene and habits. But when I started snoring so loudly it was waking Calvin up at night, he convinced me to see a sleep doctor. And when I first moved to Dallas, I decided it was time. I was prescribed a CPAP, or continuous positive air pressure machine, that requires me to wear a little mask every night in order to get, in theory, proper sleep. I thought about coming out wearing this morning, but I decided not to shock you that much. The theory is that by breathing through it, it will open up my throat so I can more easily breathe without being woken up. It was a complete change in my life, and its accessories and the machine itself went with me everywhere I went, including on flights and through customs in Tijuana. Things are a little easier to navigate because of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which requires airports and airlines to help me navigate flying with my CPAP, but I still have to fly everywhere with an extra bag just to ensure I'll have a good night's sleep. I wish I could say that everything got better once I was diagnosed, but it hasn't. In fact, it's been quite a journey this past year that's taught me a lot about how much in shambles some parts of the American healthcare system are, as well as how difficult it can be to navigate. Now, in thinking about how I was going to do this morning, I could easily preach a social justice sermon about how much the whole damn system needs to be reformed. And I'm sure these sermons and programs will be coming. I already hear rumors that the Radical Welcome Task Force is looking into some of these issues. But given how personal this sermon is, I would rather this morning share a few lessons I've learned along the way since being diagnosed with chronic illnesses. The biggest is just how fragile the human body is. Stop me if you've heard this before. Like so many young people, I think I grew up with an unearned sense of immortality. I was aware that people my age died. A boy in my class died of leukemia in 6th grade, so I was well aware that death could happen to anyone at any time. However, the adults around me were desperate to make me feel better, so they rallied around and convinced me those kids are the exception. And I guess they are, but that doesn't mean that I'm immortal. And that doesn't mean their lives didn't matter. They told me I didn't need to worry about such things, and I wasn't going to die for a very long time. But the truth is, the human body is very fragile. And it's one reason I can't be an intelligent design person, because it seems like this body is born with things that we don't really need constantly. It turns out I was born with a narrow esophagus and a big tongue. Please tell me how that helps me survive in the grand evolutionary scheme of things. That, combined with my weight, turned into a perfect storm that allowed my throat to relax so much in my sleep that my airway was blocked. In fact, it was happening thousands of times a night in my sleep, waking me up so much that I felt like I hadn't slept at all in the morning. My body that had worked so well for so long was finally facing the results of changing size and aging. It's a reminder that every bit of health I have now could disappear in a moment. That everything I know could change without notice. That this life I know is tenuous and subject to change at any time. And even these new paradigms I find myself in following will change as well. This is completely in line with the reminders of Buddhism, that change is inevitable, and all must eventually change. Just as a snake sheds its skin, the Buddha says, we must shed our past over and over again. There are two options to how I can respond to this change. I can fight it because I'm nostalgic for my younger body, that I could eat as much as I wanted and run as much as I wanted and lay down as much as I wanted, or by accepting and finding ways to work with it. I've chosen the latter. I joined Orange Theory and got on some medicine as a way to increase my movement and learning to adapt to my new circumstances. In fact, I've learned more in the past year about breathing and sleeping disorders than I have the rest of my life put together. And before I leave this first part, I want to make it very clear. I am not giving any of you license to go and talk to a person who's of bigger size and tell them that what worked for me should work for them, because that's another lesson. Nothing works for all of us exactly. And unless you're their doctor, you don't have a right. But sometimes this sort of acceptance comes with unexpected revelations about how one navigates the world. And would you please join me in the doxology? You'll find the words behind me projected.
For all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land by every tongue.
We now take time to honor the sorrows and joys of this community, knowing that we're all interconnected and that what affects one affects us all. A joy, I just want to reiterate what Alan said this morning. Thank you to everyone for everyone who made the auction such a success. It was heartbreaking I couldn't make it. I was out of town performing a friend's wedding, but you were all amazing. And a sorrow Karen Smith shares on behalf of her son, Corey, that he had to euthanize his beloved cat, BB King, a couple days ago. He will be greatly missed. We light a candle this morning to honor all the joys and sorrows which have gone unspoken and reside only in our hearts. Please join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation in whatever way feels right with these words from Liz Weber. After the reading, we'll have a space of silence, which will be broken by our responsive hymn, number 1053 in the Till hymnal, How Could Anyone? Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know how linked we are, how each one of our cares touches us all. Help us to ask for support when we are in need and offer our support to others when we're able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, help us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, so that we might fully embody love and resist hatred. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we're tired or afraid. Help us to dream of the world as it should be and act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and each day. Help us to be present for all that is our lives. For all this we pray. Blessed be.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
A reading from Eli Clare. Pride works in direct opposition to internalized oppression. The latter provides fertile ground for shame, denial, self-hatred, and fear. The former encourages anger, strength, and joy. To transform self-hatred into pride is a fundamental act of resistance. People who have lived in shame and isolation need all the pride we can muster, not to mire ourselves in a narrowly defined identity politics, but to sustain broad-based rebellion. And likewise, we need a witness to all our histories, both collective and personal. Yet we also need to remember that witness and pride are not the same. Witness pairs grief and rage with remembrance. Pride pairs joy with a determination to be visible. Witness demands primary adherence to and with history. Pride uses history as one of its many tools. Sometimes witness and pride work in concert, other times not. We cannot afford to confuse, merge, blur the two.
One, two, three, four. Don't worry about me, I'm gonna make it alright. Got my enemies crosshair to my side. Take a bad situation, gonna make it right. In the shadows of darkness, I stand in light. See, it's our style to keep it true. Had a bad year, a lot I've been through. Down, beat down, black and blue. She's not the one coming back for you. She's not the one coming back for you. If I fall back down, you're gonna help me back up again. If I fall back down, you're gonna be my friend. If I fall back down, you're gonna help me back up again. If I fall back down, you're gonna be my friend. It takes disaster to learn a lesson. You're gonna make it through the darkest night. Some people betray one and cause treason. Gonna make everything alright. Well, the worst of times, they don't faze me. Even if I look and act really crazy, I'm a way down, she betrayed me. Well, now my vision is no longer hazy. I'm very lucky to have my crew. They stood by me when she flew. I've been knocked down, beat down, black and blue. She's not the one coming back for you. She's not the one coming back for you. If I fall back down, you're gonna help me back up again. If I fall back down, you're gonna be my friend. If I fall back down, you're gonna help me back up again. If I fall back down, you're gonna be my friend.
Realizing how vulnerable my body is led me to realize that I needed to take care of it. I did what I suspect many people do at first. I went to the doctor. Now, no offense to you all in the room who are doctors or in the medical field, but here's the frustrating part about going there. It's not like Burger King. You can't always have it your way. I can't just go there, order a pill, and feel better within a week. Sometimes that's possible, and let's be honest, other times doctors have just as little idea what's wrong with you as you do. This is especially true in sleep medicine, which in many ways is still in its infancy. Sure, we've known for a very long time that certain people have difficulty sleeping, but it's only been really within the last 60 years or so that we've started truly understanding the various sleep disorders. In fact, our knowledge is constantly expanding with new discoveries and new treatments. The problem is that in a field where so much knowledge is new, even incredibly smart and dedicated people like doctors can lack the full scope of knowledge of everything that's out there. And as a result, it can take months or even years to find treatment options that work. What I had to do was become my own advocate, learning about as much as possible about my own disorders and the sleep medicine field in general. This is the second lesson of chronic illness. I must be my own advocate because if I don't, no one else will. Sure, there are people out there who care about my well-being, even doctors when they're poking and prodding me. But in order to navigate this system that had the power to offer treatment, I had to educate myself to a degree that I'm not sure many people without chronic illness realize is necessary. It's part of what led me to fire my first sleep doctor after she blamed my treatment not working on my weight and the depression that I didn't have. In fact, I would later find out she had diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome on the third time she ever met me, which chronic fatigue syndrome is a diagnosis of exclusion. It's something you're supposed to diagnose people with after you've tested them for everything else. It's what led me to taking my treatment in my own hands and experimenting with different pressure settings on my CPAP. It's what led me to not take no for an answer. It's been said that you must love yourself before you can love others, and though I have some critique of this saying, it's not particularly helpful for people who are depressed. There is some truth to it. In a position where I'm responsible for loving people and organizations, what example would I be setting if I wasn't willing to love myself enough to say no? To say that's not quite right and I need something else. And if I can't get it here, I'm going to find where I can. If I hadn't been willing to do this, I would not be where I am today. To put it in the words of my therapist, I can be a bit hard-headed when I want to be. But it's also taught me the limits to authority and expertise, that even folks we think of as having all the answers can have no clue sometimes. And it's often hard to admit when those times are. I've needed to educate doctors sometimes. The best are the ones who realize they always have something to learn. The worst are the ones who get defensive and insist that I must be wrong. The reason for this is because when we're able to listen to each other, we can find solutions we weren't able to find on our own. As this year progressed and I started doing my own homework, monitoring my own breathing data on the CPAP machine, wearing a pulse oximeter and an Apple Watch to monitor my vitals and my sleep, I learned how to use this data to ask intelligent questions about my condition. Why does my sleep data indicate I'm getting so little deep sleep? Why do I wake up every morning between 2:30 and 3:30 and I don't think it's the dog kicking me? Why do I have so many drops in my blood oxygen level? Why are there mornings I feel worse after using CPAP than if I hadn't used it at all? In August this year, after an in-person sleep study, I finally had a breakthrough in my treatment. The results were startling. I no longer showed I had sleep apnea, likely because of weight loss, though that doesn't work for everyone. Instead, I finally learned what my underlying condition is: upper air resistance syndrome, a little known and frequently misunderstood night breathing condition that is often considered less serious than sleep apnea, mostly because the insurance companies don't want to pay for treatment for it, but which also causes people to be aroused from sleep at night. According to my sleep study, I woke up 10 times an hour during it, which, believe it or not, is not considered sleep apnea. The cause is anatomical because of my narrow palate and large tongue, and it's notoriously hard to treat on CPAP turned onto auto mode, which was my prescription for treatment. Though my current sleep doctor knows less about upper airway resistance syndrome than I wished, she and I are collaborating about treatment, and she is deeply listening to everything I'm saying, which is how I know that she's a good doctor. This is a lesson as well. Sometimes I have to trust my instincts that something is not right because I am the one who fills my body. Now, I'm not cruel enough to say that I nor anybody else needed these things in order to learn these lessons. Certainly, if there is an omnibenevolent deity out there, I have questions about why there were not less harsh ways to learn these lessons in the grand scheme of things. But it is related to another thing. We can each make meaning out of our lives based on whatever comes our way. I think we have to, in order to not be subsumed in the difficulties in life. My question is not why do I have a chronic illness, but how do I thrive despite it? One of my lessons to this is learning all about sleep disorders, not just my own, because I want to help people find the same information and persistence I found, especially if they don't have the systems of support I do. To remind you, my therapist says I'm hard-headed sometimes. But here's the greatest lesson. Because you can't tell by looking, there are people in this room right now living their lives with chronic illness whom you may never even suspect. I would guess a lot of you didn't suspect me before I got up here and said it. That's why I think we need to be sensitive both to the needs of others and to be able to express what we need, because we each deserve a chance to be our best in a world built for people who don't face day-to-day challenges. For example, I'm thankful to have a job that has a lot of flexibility for doctor's appointments, because if I had a 9-to-5 hourly job, I don't know how I would have done it. Thank you all who like to meet it in the night. Sometimes you help me. I also have supportive friends and family. But I wonder, what do you need to be your best self? Because accommodation is about more than simply diagnosis. It's about what you need to thrive. I'm a long way from being cured. There are more tests in my future and probably surgery eventually as well. But I'm preaching this sermon for those who don't feel like they can be public in their chronic illness, because of fear of discrimination, stigma, and misunderstanding, which is a reality. In fact, after I preach this sermon, it will be available to anyone who Googles my name on YouTube. I am determined to create space for folks to feel like their struggles are real and matter, even when they can't do it themselves. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of chronic illness. That permanent, perfectly good health does not exist. And the reason we need to learn from it is because it affects us all. As Kahlil Gibran once said, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. This is why disability and chronic illness are a Unitarian Universalist issue. Because if we are to be truly welcoming, we must make room for diverse bodies and life experiences before they come through our doors, and be prepared to have our notions of health challenged. Because I believe a religion centered on love should be prepared to make room, not because it makes us better, which it does, but because every one of us matters. Because it's a matter of pride. Because if we can't make room for some, how can we make room for any of us? May it be so.
We extinguish this flame, but not our commitment to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. This we do because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world. I would like to invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, hymn number 1017 in the Teal hymnal, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Our benediction is by Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. If not us, who? If not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our values, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.